Hi, this is Avrohom Katz. We're going to give a shir now in Lessons in Torah Or. This is for the Yud Tes Kislev learning campaign. This is a Maamer from the Baltani, from the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shmita Cycle of the Adi. This is for next week's Parsha, where we're speaking about Yosef, and he had dreams that he would become a ruler, he would become the king of his family, and eventually became king of the whole of Egypt. And we see the importance of dreams in the Parsha from Vayeshev and from Miketz, and so we have to understand what's the lesson of dreams in the service of Hashem. So the Maamer starts by bringing the pasuk from Tehillim. Shir malas b'shuv chulu hayinu kechalmim. It says in Tehillim that we're praising Hashem for the fact that during the time of Galus, we're like a dream. We're like people in a dream. That when Mashiach comes, we're going to look back and consider ourselves like we were dreaming. So we have to understand, what does that mean? What does it mean that the time of Galus, the time of exile, is like a dream? The idea of a dream is that it combines opposites together. And it combines things which are totally different as if it was one thing. This is because during the time of sleep, the person's intellect, which is what differentiates between opposites, it leaves the person, it leaves the being revealed in the person's mind, it goes back into the subconscious, and all that's left in the person's conscious, all that's left in the person's mind, is his imagination. The power of imagination is able to combine things which are opposite. Like, for example, a person can imagine a boat flying in the air, which, even though it's physically impossible for a regular boat to fly in the air, but in a person's imagination, it can combine two opposites. Like the Rambam writes in his introduction to his commentary on Pirkei Avos. It's only when a person wakes up that's when the full intellect becomes revealed. It's able to control the power of imagination, and it does not allow the imagination to combine things which are opposite, because he sees in his mind that these are things which are separate, and they're unable to come together. So it's when a person is sleeping in his imagination, he can combine things which doesn't make sense that they can come together, whereas when a person is awake, his intellect differentiates that they're not able to be combined. So too, during the time of exile, the spark of Hashem, spark of godliness, which is in the Jewish soul, it is sleeping, and it's like the intellect, the intellect of the divine soul, this divine awareness, the awareness of Hashem, it's left the person's consciousness. And so at that time, he's able to combine two things which are naturally opposite. What is that? On the one hand, the whole day a person is busy in his occupation, in his business, making money. That each person has a business, that they're trying to seek to make profit from their business, for whatever business it is. Some people have the olive orchards and other types of business. Each person, they're trying to make money. But this, that they're going to work, they're going to make money, comes right after prayer, comes the time of davening. At the time of prayer and the time of davening, a person wakes up to love for Hashem, that they want to have nothing to do with anything material. They want to divest themselves, they want to remove themselves from any interest in anything material. This comes about that he wants to connect himself to Hashem because he contemplated Hashem's unity during the time of davening. He thought about Hashem when he said Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. He thought about the fact that Hashem, He's the true existence. And when he said Baruch Hashem Kavod B'chol Tzivim, he also thought about the fact that not only is Hashem the true existence, that He's creating everything constantly, but even from my perspective, I'm able to recognize that that's true. It makes sense. Hashem is everywhere. Hashem is everything, and nothing can leave Hashem. Nothing can go outside of Hashem. So He's the only thing that really matters. So why would I want anything else? Why would I want any material desires? Nonetheless, after prayer, after davening, this love slips away. He doesn't take to heart that it's exactly the opposite of the contemplation he had during prayer, during davening. And he imagines that we can connect, we can combine these two things which are opposite, as if it was one thing. When in truth they're totally separate. To have a love for Hashem and a love for physicality are really two opposite things. And it's like only a dream and imagination that they can come together. That during davening, during prayer, he only loves Hashem. And during work, he's only thinking about how much money he's going to make from his work. Now we find in the Torah, Hashem wants us to work. Hashem wants us to make money. So why is it a contradiction to working and making money? Why is it a contradiction to the love of Hashem during prayer, during davening? Even though it says in the Torah, 6 years, you should work your field. And so too during Kriyas Shema we say, and what does it say in the second parsha of Shema, in the second paragraph of Shema? It says you should serve Hashem with all your heart, which means you should pray and you should daven. And then it says Hashem is going to give you rain in your fields and you'll gather in your crops and your grain. So we see that Hashem wants both. Hashem wants us to pray, He wants us to daven, and He wants us to work and make money. So why are we saying it's a contradiction? Our material occupation is part of our service of Hashem. Like we know, that everything in this world has a way that we're using it to serve Hashem. When it says in the Pasuk regarding the Shmita Cycle, that in the land of Eretz Yisrael, we plant the ground and we work the ground for 6 years, and the 7th year is Shmita, we're not allowed to work the ground. So that's a hint, that's a mystical concept which is hinting to our whole service of Hashem during the 6,000 years and the 7,000 year of creation. The first 6,000 years, from the time Hashem created the world, we have to refine and elevate the material world and connect it to Hashem to make it a dwelling place for Hashem. And in the 7,000 year, the 7th millennia, that's where Hashem is fully revealed, and we don't have to work to refine it anymore. Rather, we're just going to connect to Hashem on a deeper level. Just like during Shmita, where we don't have to work the land, we just get to eat the fruits that grow by themselves. What are these 6 years? They correspond to the idea of refinement of the world. And the 7th year corresponds to the elevation of the 7th year, referring to the 7,000 millennia when the world will be totally refined. Like explained elsewhere in Chassidus. Depending on a person's intention, that is really what matters. In other words, Hashem for sure wants us to have a material occupation and to have a profession and to make money. But the real purpose behind it is in order to connect the material world with Hashem, to connect the physical world with Hashem. Because Hashem could give us money and Hashem could give us all our material needs without having to go and work. We could sit and we could learn and we could pray and we could do mitzvahs and we shouldn't have to work to make money. Like it says in the Gemara in Kedushin, that all the animals, Hashem gives them whatever they need without them having to work. So why do we have to work? It's because there's an inner purpose why we have to do this. What's the inner purpose? The inner purpose behind it is to connect the physical world with Hashem, to connect the physical world and refine it, that it should be connected to a Jewish person who's serving Hashem. That's the real purpose of why we're going into the world. So therefore, that's not a contradiction to the love of Hashem. During the time of prayer, we come to a great love for Hashem, and we take that love and we use it to refine the material world, that it should also be connected to Hashem. But not that his whole day he's just thinking about how he's going to make money. But many people, that's not their intention. Rather, their intention is just to get the physical bread. So that they're not thinking about this spiritual intention. And their heart is not focused on this proper purpose and this proper intention of refining the world and connecting it to Hashem. Rather, they're just thinking about the material aspect. This is the exact opposite feeling than the feeling we had during prayer, during davening. That during the time of prayer, during the time of davening, it's fixed in a person's heart, the love only for Hashem. He doesn't want anything else. So these are two opposite feelings. So it seems like a dream. You could have two opposite feelings at the same time. A person might come to think that his prayer, his davening, is not worth anything. His love for Hashem is not real. Because if it was real, then it would last the whole day. Then he would all day be having this feeling for Hashem. And since after prayer he has a feeling for his material needs, so for material desires, so maybe that proves that his feeling for Hashem during prayer was not right, was not real, was not true. It's like a dream. Which is an imaginary power that in a person's imagination he can connect opposites. Since after prayer a person sees that his love for Hashem goes away, and instead what does he feel? He feels the love for his body, for his material things. This proves that during prayer he didn't really remove his love for his body, and therefore his arousal of his love for Hashem during prayer was not true. That's what he's thinking. It's just like a dream that can connect two opposites. And therefore he imagines that he can love Hashem and also love his body, even though they both can't be true together. They can't coexist, the love for Hashem and the love for material things at the same time. And this is just from his imagination, that it can imagine things that are not real. So this is what a person might think. A person might get sad and they might get upset and say, why am I working hard to awaken a love for Hashem during prayer? And then right after prayer I see that I love other things, I love material things. So maybe it's not real. Maybe all my work is not accomplishing anything, because the love for Hashem is only temporary. And then afterwards I have a love for material things. And only in imagination can you have both together. So maybe that proves that the love for Hashem was not real. So the Alter Rebbe says, no, it's not true. Really, the love for Hashem during prayer was true, was real, had very deep meaning. And the fact that afterwards he has a love for material things is because we're in the time of exile, we're in the time of a dream. The truth is, this dream, this that we're able to have these two opposites, the love for Hashem and love for material things, which that's like a dream that can, in a person's imagination, two opposites can come together. The source, the spiritual source of this dream is in a very high level of holiness. We'll understand this based on explaining what it says in the pasuk. On that day, when Mashiach comes, Hashem will be one and His name will be one. The Gemara asks, what does it mean? Only on that day Hashem's name will be one. But what, now His name is not one? And the Gemara answers, Hashem's name is not pronounced the same way that it's written. Hashem's name is written with the four letters of a Yud and then a Hey, and then a Vav and then a Hey, whereas it's pronounced with the name of Aleph Daled Nun Yud. So it's written one way and it's pronounced differently. So that's lacking in unity. So what does that mean? What's the significance behind saying that it's written one way and it's pronounced another way? And that's a lack of unity. Hashem's name, which that's Hashem's revelation. It's just like a name is what you use to call your friend, to call someone else. That's His expression to you, His connection to you. Hashem's name means His revelation to us, how we're able to relate to Him. And during the time of Galvus, during the time of exile, we don't see Hashem the way He really is. And therefore Hashem's name is not written, is not pronounced the way that it's written. In other words, Hashem, we don't see Hashem the way that Hashem really is. It's like a person, he has his real name and then he has an alias. He has another name that he's called by, but that's not who he really is. Kaviyachol. That's not the perfect mashal, but the idea is Hashem the way he really is Yud Kei Vav Kei, which means He's was, is, and will be. He's beyond all limitations. He's infinite. He's everywhere. He's everything. He's the real ultimate truth. That's Hashem the way He really is. The real truth that He's present right here, right now. What do we see? We only see Adonai. Adonai means master. It means Hashem is running the show. He's managing everything. But we're not seeing that He's here directly. So this is that we're not seeing Him directly. That's different than the way He really is. Because really He's actually right here. But we don't see that He's here. We only see that He's the master. So that's a lack of unity, that he's not expressing himself to us, or we're not experiencing him the way that he really is. During the time of exile, which is like sleep, and during the time of sleep, a person's intellect returns to the subconscious, which is called Nozehar. That the three aspects of intellect become included in the three aspects of emotions, which means like this. When a person sleeps, the higher level of intellect withdraws back to the subconscious, and the lower level of intellect, which is necessary for the body to live and function, and for a person's dreams to function, that's what remains in the body. So what remains from the intellect becomes part of this lower level, like these emotions. So that's called the three levels of intellect, the way that it's included in emotion. In other words, not the higher true intellect that you see when a person's awake, only the remnant of intellect that's able to guide his dreams. And then the higher part of the soul, the higher part of the neshama, which includes in it the higher part of the intellect, returns back to its source, deep into the subconscious, the part of the person, which in Chassidus is called the Chay Yechida, the part of the soul which is not limited to the body, and there receives new life from the essence of the soul. So we have these two things happening when a person's sleeping. The higher part of the soul, the neshama and the ruach, goes back to its source in the Chay Yechida, goes back into the subconscious. The higher part of the intellect goes back into the subconscious. And the lower part of the soul, the nefesh, this is what remains in the body and gives life to the body, and is what's expressed in the dreams that a person has. So the higher part of the soul, which returns to the subconscious, which returns back into the Chay Yechida, it connects to a very high level. What level is that called? In the subconscious, in the Chay Yechida, everything exists together as one. That's called a circle. Just like in a circle, everything is equally distant from the center, and you can draw a straight line from one point to any other point on the circle without having to go through any other point. So too, in the subconscious, in the Chay Yechid, in the deeper part of the soul, which is not revealed in the body, all the soul powers all exist as one. That's called igulim circles. That on that level, there's no top and bottom. Rather, everything is equal, and everything is united. And so all the soul powers, they all exist as one. They all exist together. Like it says that you could have two opinions in the Torah. One says this thing is kosher, one says this thing is not kosher. And they could both be true. In the physical world, they can't both be true. Because in the physical world, either you could eat it or you cannot eat it. But in the spiritual source, in the way that it's in Hashem's wisdom, both could be two valid explanations of the pasuk, of a verse. One derives from it that it's kosher, one derives from it that it's not kosher. So on a higher level, two opposites can coexist, even though in the physical world they cannot coexist. So similarly, in the subconscious, the different soul powers, which could be opposite, like kindness and severity, they all exist as one in this higher level called igulim. It's only when the soul powers are then drawn down and revealed in the conscious level, then it's called like channels. There's a specific channel. There's a channel of kindness, a channel of severity, and the channels don't mix. Kindness is only kindness, and severity is only severity, and they have to interact, but they're separate. And the same thing, intellect is expressed into emotions, and emotions is expressed into action. So there's an order of top and bottom. There's a progression of the soul powers and how it comes down into expression. It's not all existing at one. There's a specific order of how everything is expressed. Which is not the case on the subconscious level, called circles, that there's no differentiation. There on that level, all the things which in the body, which in the conscious level, are all separate, in the subconscious level, they're all one thing. And they're not seen any separation, distinction between them. So on the spiritual level, we're using this analogy of comparing a person sleeping to the time of exile. So just like in the time of a person sleeping, when is the subconscious revealed is only in a dream. When a person is awake, you're seeing his conscious, you're seeing how he's thinking, and there's a logical order of how a person's acting and how things have to happen when a person is awake. Whereas when a person is sleeping, there's an expression from the subconscious, and that opposites can combine. So even though dreams, when a person is dreaming, that's on a lower level than intellect, because things don't make sense, but there's an advantage in dreams that they're also expressing something from the subconscious, which is even higher than intellect. So it's the same thing in the time of exile compared to the time of the Beis HaMikdash. In the time of the Beis HaMikdash, Hashem was revealed. We saw Hashem's name Havaya, we saw the Hashem, that he's here, that he's 100% here. So this is a very high level. Whereas the time of exile, we're not seeing that. We're only seeing that Hashem is the master, but we're not seeing Hashem being present as much. But there's an advantage that we're seeing an aspect of Hashem's truth which is even beyond making sense, beyond the fact that he's present and he makes sense. We're connecting to Hashem the way that his revelation is on the level of igulim, on the level of circles, on the level where there's infinite possibilities and all opposites can exist together. So in the time of exile, we're actually connecting to Hashem on a deeper level, even though it's less revealed, even though we're not aware of it as much. But in order for this high level of igulim, this higher level of Hashem's revelation, which corresponds to the subconscious of the person, it's only through the aspect of sleeping and retraction of the intellect during the time of exile, during the time of Galus. Regarding this it says, I will clothe the heavens with darkness. In other words, the heavens, this high level, which is beyond our understanding, beyond limitations, beyond logic, it comes packaged in darkness. Only in the time of darkness are you able to access this level called Shamayim, called this level which is beyond all limitations. Shamayim, heavens, is reference to igulim, circles. Just like in the physical world, the heavens encompass the earth, they're like the circle. So too, in the spiritual level, the idea of heavens is this infinite truth of Hashem, which is beyond the limitations of all the worlds. And where do you able to connect to them? Is only at the time of darkness and the time of Golus. They become clothed and invested only in the aspect of darkness, which means a concealment on Hashem's presence. That then, during the time of Golus, this shines and they're expressed from above, from the high world called Igulim. Where is it expressed? In this theoretical dream, not in this Golus, which is called a dream. That just like a dream, there's an expression of the subconscious in the fact that the dream opposites can happen. Things which are impossible can happen in a dream. So too, in the time of Golus, in the time of exile, there's an expression from this higher world called Igulim, from Seviv Kolman, from the way that he's beyond, Hashem is beyond all limitations, is expressed specifically in the darkness and the time of exile, which is called a dream. Which this is the power of imagination that can combine different opposites as though they're one thing. So just like in a dream, a person's imagination can make impossible things happen, which is really a reflection of the subconscious. So too, in the spiritual dream of exile, the fact that we're seeing things which don't make sense is really an expression of Hashem, the way that he's higher than making sense, the way that Hashem is higher than all the order of all the worlds. This is because in their spiritual source, in this world called Igulim, everything is one. Because there, everything exists together. So in other words, when Hashem created the world, it says Hashem created it through using his words and using his thoughts. And when Hashem is creating the world on a revealed level, using his words and thoughts, everything that he created has its own specific words, its own specific thoughts, just for that thing. Whereas in the original source, in Hashem's deeper level of thought, which is corresponding to the subconscious, everything exists all together as one. Before Hashem created the world as all separate things, they all existed in one thought in Hashem. So in that one thought in Hashem, all opposites and all opposite possibilities and all opposite ideas, they all existed as one thought in Hashem. And it's only as they came down and became specific things, specific worlds, specific objects in the world that they became separated. But the fact that they're able to reunite in the world is because in their source in Hashem, they originally were one thing.